The screaming didn't even faze me anymore. Not hers, not mine, not the neighbor's baby that somehow always cried during our worst fights like it was part of the soundtrack. No, what got me this time was the silence. The way she stood there, blinking slowly like I was a stranger who had just wandered into her living room and spilled wine on her carpet. She didn't deny it. She didn't bother. She just said, "You knew what this was." And that sentence, that one, it broke something in my brain I didn't know could still snap. Because I didn't know. I didn't know what this was. I thought this was our life, our stupid, cracked, mismatched, lived-in life, with pizza boxes and mismatched socks and bills paid just in time. I thought we were messy, not broken. I thought we were tired, not over. But apparently, she'd been on a whole different page, a different genre. She stood there in that awful maroon hoodie I hated, holding her phone like it was a weapon, like she was waiting for me to explode so she could film it and send it to her group chat titled something like "Ugh Men." And I didn't explode. I just asked one question. Was it him? That was it. Just those 3 words. And still, she couldn't look at me. That's when I laughed. Not because it was funny, God no, but because what else was I supposed to do? Cry? Punch a wall? Beg? I was too tired for all that. Too numb. Instead, I picked up the keys. My keys. The only thing in that apartment that still felt like mine. And I walked out. Not because I wanted to, but because if I stayed another second, I would have asked her why. And I already knew the answer. I didn't get far. I told myself I was walking out for good, that I was done with the lies, the deflection, the phone flipping, the unanswered texts that suddenly never delivered. But 5 minutes after stepping outside, I realized I hadn't even put shoes on. Just socks and rage. The parking lot was lit by those cheap flickering lamps that make everything look worse than it already is. I stood by my car, holding the keys, pretending I had somewhere to go. I didn't. I was still gripping them an hour later, after the cold had seeped into my sleeves and the adrenaline had faded, leaving just the raw hangover of being blindsided by someone you thought you knew. Eventually, I went back up. Not because I forgave her. I didn't even want to speak to her. But my laptop, my wallet, and my charger were still inside, and I was too broke to start over with nothing but key lint and passive-aggressive dignity. I expected the door to be locked. I kind of hoped it was. I even fantasized about knocking, having her ignore me, and sleeping in the car like some tragic martyr. But the door was wide open, and the lights were off. I stepped inside, and the silence was suffocating. That kind of heavy silence that feels placed there, like furniture. Her purse was still on the table. The TV remote was on the floor, and her phone, the one she always guarded like a dragon hoarding gold, was sitting face down on the couch cushion. It buzzed. I didn't move. It buzzed again. I stared at it like it might explode. My heart was in my throat, pounding, telling me to either grab it or run, but not just stand there. I reached for it slowly, like a thief in my own home, half expecting her to jump out from behind the curtains and scream. But she didn't. There was no lock screen, no password, just an open chat. And that's when I learned something I wasn't ready for. It wasn't just him. There were 3 of them. Different names, different messages, different cities. Some old, some recent. Some deleted, others saved with cute little inside jokes I had never heard before. One of them sent her a picture, nothing explicit, just enough to twist my stomach into a knot so tight I had to sit down. Another one called her V in his contact name. I don't even know why. Maybe it was short for something. Maybe I never knew her at all, the weirdest part. She didn't respond to most of them. She just let them message her. And maybe that hurt even more. Because it wasn't love. It wasn't some big affair with hearts and betrayal and hotel keys. It was worse than that. It was boredom. She was bored with me. With us. And instead of trying to fix it, she built a gallery of half-connections to keep herself entertained. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was background noise. That realization hit harder than any cheating scandal ever could. The door behind me creaked. I turned fast, too fast, and there she was, in the hallway. No shoes, no expression. We stared at each other in the dark. Just two people who used to be something. And then she said it. You weren't supposed to see that. Not, I'm sorry. Not, it's not what it looks like. Not even, let me explain. Just that. And I swear to you, something in me cracked so cleanly, so sharply that I felt nothing. No anger, no heartbreak, not even confusion. I just stood up, walked past her without a word, and left. For real this time. I still didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay. 2 days after I walked out, I got a text from an unknown number. You're Leroy, right? That alone was weird enough. No context, no introduction, just my name, typed like a statement, not a question. I replied with a dry, who's asking? Seconds later came the gut punch. I'm the guy your wife's been seeing. Or I guess, was. I stared at the screen like it might rewrite itself. My first instinct was to throw the phone, but curiosity locked me in place. I wasn't ready for answers, but apparently, they were ready for me. Didn't know she was married, not at first. She told me months later. Said you two were basically roommates. Roommates. That's how she'd describe me. Not even an ex, just some platonic placeholder with a toothbrush in the same bathroom. Like we weren't 9 years deep into promises, plans, and shared trauma. I felt my ears ringing. I asked why he was texting me. He said he wanted to apologize. Said he'd broken things off weeks ago, but figured I deserved to know the truth. I wasn't sure if it was guilt or ego driving him, but either way, he sent screenshots. And that's when I found out the worst part. He knew about me, and stayed. He didn't know at first, sure, but once she told him, once he saw the ring on her nightstand, once he heard me in the background during a call, he stayed, because she told him I wasn't really in the picture. She said you were emotionally checked out, said she begged you to go to therapy, said you just got comfortable and stopped trying. I didn't reply, because the truth was, that part wasn't a lie. I did stop trying. Not all at once, but slowly. The date nights faded. The random compliments dried up. I thought marriage was about surviving the boring stuff, and I got too comfortable with being background noise. I didn't see her starving for attention until someone else fed her. But here's what still burns. I would have fought for her. I would have gone to therapy. I would have tried if she told me we were drowning. But instead, she let the water in, and then blamed me for not swimming harder. Before I could respond, another text came through. By the way, there's another guy. That's why I left. She was texting both of us. Just thought you should know you weren't the only one. My stomach dropped. I wasn't the backup plan. I was one of the backup plans. I wasn't planning to go back. I had told myself that whatever I didn't know couldn't hurt me any worse. But avoidance is a short-term drug, and I was still addicted to answers. So, a week after I left, I drove back while she was at work. I still had a key. And no, I don't feel guilty. The apartment looked exactly the same. The throw blanket still half off the couch. That dumb ceramic cat on the bookshelf still crooked from the last time she vacuumed. It was like stepping into a memory I didn't belong to anymore. I went straight for her laptop. Not to snoop, not exactly. I just needed to know if there was anything she had left behind, something practical, maybe financial stuff, maybe shared docs or bills or notes from the life we were dismantling piece by piece. But then I saw it. A folder on her desktop called June Drafts. Harmless name, generic. But something about it felt off. She wasn't the kind of person who left things unorganized. If it were work, it'd be on her cloud drive. If it were personal, it'd be buried in a dozen nested folders, labeled with something cute and password protected. But this was sitting right there, like it wanted to be found. So I opened it. Inside were 14 video files, all date stamped, all from our living room, bedroom, even the hallway near the front door. My heart froze. For a second I thought maybe, God forbid, she was being stalked or had set up hidden cams for safety. But then I realized she recorded them herself. Not security footage, conversations, hours, private ones, fights, late-night talks, me venting, her crying. Some clips were trimmed, edited, bits cut out to shift the tone. One was labeled, "Proof he's manipulative." Another said, "Classic gaslighting." I opened that one first, hands shaking. It was from a night in June, mid-argument. She had just accused me of ignoring her again. I was defensive, tired, and said something like, "I don't think this is fair. You're twisting everything." Then the clip cut there. No context, no lead-up. Just me saying that sentence in a frustrated tone. It was surreal, like watching a version of myself through someone else's lens. Like I'd been on trial for months and didn't even know. Then I opened the last file. It wasn't labeled. It was her, alone, talking to the camera like it was a diary. She said she didn't feel guilty, not for the lies the other guys, or even for what she called preparing an exit story. She said if it came down to it, she could make it look mutual, maybe even get ahead of it if I tried to play the victim. She laughed when she said that. And I realized something in that moment I hadn't allowed myself to think before. She was never confused. She was calculating. This wasn't a messy affair or emotional breakdown. This was strategy. She had been recording a breakup for months, building a case, maybe for friends, maybe for social media, maybe even for legal reasons I still don't know. But what I do know is this. She didn't just fall out of love. She planned my downfall. 2 days after I found the videos, I got a message I never expected. It was from her sister, Mallory. We hadn't spoken in nearly a year, ever since that awkward Christmas, where she got wine drunk and called me passive-aggressively forgettable. So, yeah, not exactly on texting terms, but there it was. "Can we talk?" "Just dinner. No drama." I stared at it for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, delete the thread, and pretend it never popped up. But curiosity is a parasite. It eats through logic. I said yes. We met at this dim little Thai place downtown where the music was always too loud and the water glasses smelled like dish soap. She got there before me, already 2 drinks in, and didn't waste time on small talk. "I'm sorry," she said. Just that. No let-in. No excuses. I didn't know how bad it was until last week. She leaned in, voice low, eyes sharper than I remembered. Then she said it. "She's done this before." I blinked. "What?" "She did the same thing to her ex before you, recorded him, twisted stories, left details out and made him look unstable so she could leave clean. You just lasted longer." The words hit like ice water. I asked why she never warned me. Mallory shook her head, looked down at her untouched noodles. "Because I thought you were different. I thought maybe she grew up. But when I saw her recent posts, and the way she's talking about you like you're some manipulative psycho, I knew she was building a narrative again." My stomach turned. I had been worried I was the villain in her story. Turns out I was just the sequel. I don't even know why I opened the drawer. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe I was still looking for one final hit of proof, some leftover shard of deception she forgot to sweep up. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. Most of her stuff was gone now, but there were still drawers filled with junk we never sorted. Cables, receipts, old takeout menus. I pulled open the top one near her nightstand, and there it was, wedged between a dead flashlight and a dried-up pen. A black flip phone. Not a smartphone, a burner. The kind of phone you see in movies when someone's trying not to get caught. My first thought was, it can't be hers. That was followed immediately by, of course it is. No one accidentally owns a burner phone in 2025. It was dead, naturally. No charger in sight. But I wasn't about to walk away. I drove straight to a 24-hour gas station and bought one of those cheap universal chargers. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, staring at the dashboard while the phone came back to life. And when it did, everything got worse. There were only a few contacts saved, no names, just initials. The messages weren't long, but they didn't need to be. They were explicit, not just physically, but emotionally. The kind of things you only say when you know you're not coming back. The timestamps were scattered but recent, some from just weeks before everything blew up. One message read, "He's starting to get suspicious. Might accelerate things." Another, "Don't worry. I've got the story ready. He'll look like the one who gave up." But the most disturbing message came from a number that wasn't saved at all. Just raw digits, no contact name, sent 3 days before she walked out. So, when exactly do I get to be the only one? That was it. That was the moment I realized she hadn't just lied. She hadn't just cheated. She'd managed to convince multiple people, including me, that they were each the backup, like we were all standing in a line, waiting for a promotion that was never coming. I took a photo of the messages and turned the phone off. I didn't throw it away. I didn't smash it in some dramatic movie moment. I just put it in the glove box and sat there for a long time. I wasn't sure what hurt more, being betrayed, or realizing I'd been outplayed from the beginning. It was a Thursday afternoon when it happened, 3 weeks after she left, and almost 2 weeks since I found the burner phone. By then, I had stopped expecting anything. No closure, no confessions. I'd accepted that I'd been replaced, rewritten, and edited out of the life I helped build. I wasn't healing, but I was at least functioning again. Until I got a text from her. At first, I didn't even realize it was her. It came from a new number. Local area code, no name. Just one line. "Leaving now. He's in the shower. Wish me luck." I froze. It took me a full 30 seconds to understand what I was looking at. My brain tried to rationalize it. Wrong number, spam, a joke. Then it clicked. She thought she was messaging someone else. I didn't respond. Not immediately. I read the message 5 more times before my fingers even moved. It wasn't the content that made me sick. It was the casual tone, the emoji, the way she made betrayal sound exciting, like some kind of game. And worst of all, the phrase, "wish me luck." That meant she was doing it again. Another man, another lie, another story waiting to be spun. After 20 minutes of staring, I replied with only 3 words. "You sent this." She saw it immediately. No typing bubbles, no response, nothing. But 5 minutes later, I got a call, same number. I didn't answer. She called again, then again. I turned my phone off. I didn't want to hear whatever lie she was scrambling to craft. Not this time. I wasn't going to give her the space to perform sincerity again. But in that moment, sitting in my car with the engine running and the phone vibrating like it was panicking on her behalf, something in me changed. It was no longer about heartbreak. Now it was about exposure. Because if she was still running the same playbook, if there was another poor idiot out there buying the same lies I had, I couldn't just sit in silence anymore. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry, though I had every reason to be, but because I wasn't anymore. Something had shifted. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't cycling through what-ifs or rehearsing imaginary arguments in the shower. I wasn't consumed by trying to understand her. I was just done. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. Dozens of messages, missed calls, a few voicemails, which I deleted without listening. None of it mattered anymore. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, not to her, really, but to myself. I opened a new message, typed it slowly, and hit send. "You don't have to respond. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. And I don't hate you. But I finally see you for who you are. I was never weak for trusting you. I was strong for surviving you. I hope whatever you're chasing gives you peace. I've stopped chasing closure. I'm building something better now, without lies, without games. Goodbye." That was it. She didn't reply. Not right away. Not ever, actually. And that silence was the most honest thing she ever gave me. In the weeks that followed, I finally cleaned the apartment. Really cleaned it. Not just the clutter, but the energy, the reminders. I boxed up what was left of her things and shipped them to the return address on one of her old packages. No note, no warning, just closure, express delivery. I started walking more, reading again. I even reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years because I was always too busy making excuses for her distance. One of them, Hannah, invited me out for coffee, and for the first time in months, I laughed without forcing it. She didn't ask about the past. She just asked how I was doing, and I told her the truth. I was healing. And here's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It doesn't make you smaller. It just strips away the illusion. And once it's gone, you can finally see the space around you for what it really is. Open, quiet, free. I still think about her sometimes. Not out of pain, but out of gratitude. Because losing her made me find something I didn't know I had. Myself.